And welcome to Ask the Unfaithful Shorts. This is a topic that was very difficult for me at the beginning of my recovery. And that was really how to deal with my feelings, because they come up. I used to just avoid them. I used to just run in my head or literally out of the room. Okay, so how am I going to feel those feelings all the way through was the question that I came up with for myself. So it was really amazing because I wasn't really able to identify even the most basic feelings in myself. These days, we teach our kids much better about what they're feeling in the moment. So when we talk about feelings, we're going to just go really basic. We're going to go mad, sad, glad, afraid, which includes fear and anxiety, lonely, disgust, and contempt. So now that I've noticed that something is happening in me, and now that I've been able to label that with one of those, mad, sad, glad, afraid / anxious, lonely, disgust, contempt. Okay, now what I can do is I can say, okay, where is that coming up in my body? I'm going to feel it somewhere. So often, anxiety we can feel right here. We'll feel our shoulder traps kind of get locked up, our jaw clench when we're angry. We might notice an increased heart rate, or might flush in the face, which would indicate higher blood pressure. So, or we might even perspire, which if you don't have hair, you can actually notice that a lot more easily than if you do. So at this point, why is it useful to know where it is in your body? Because what that does is that's going to happen first before you actually can identify it, or before you can think about, oh, that's that feeling. So that's going to actually, if you can get to the place where you can identify where that's happening in your body, where that particular feeling happens in your body, you'll feel it in your body first, and then you'll be able to go, oh, I need to create an intervention here so that I don't spiral into that feeling. So a couple of ways you can do that piece, not spiraling, is to start slowing your breath down. So I like to call them yoga breaths, which is probably somebody's name for them. Basically, you want to start with a couple of seconds in, a couple of seconds out, and you want to increase that with each breath. So 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out, until you get to 8 seconds in, 8 seconds out. By the time you get to that, and the 8 seconds is not, let me hold it, it's actually breathing in and kind of expanding your belly into it, because that's pushing your diaphragm down. It means your lungs are truly filling. When you get to that 8 seconds in and out, then you're going to be in a much calmer place to be able to handle what the feeling that came up. The other thing that we can do is the tapping. I've talked about it before, either with your hands like this or with your feet if you don't want everybody to see, and that will calm you as well. There are reasons in the brain for that we don't have to go into right now, but just trust that it works. So then you stay with the feeling. Now you've noticed it, you've done something to calm yourself so that you can actually, you've actually taken a sort of a mental step back, and you're able to go, okay, so I'm feeling sad. Now I can stay with that feeling. With practice, you can allow that feeling to stay, and you can actually feel it for longer. Now the job is to say, okay, why? So I'm going to get curious about that. Why did it come up for me? Why am I feeling sad? Sometimes it's going to be really obvious. Sometimes it's not. It just strikes you. Sometimes it can be a feeling above a feeling, right? So let's say I'm angry. Well, angry can also hide scared. I need to figure out what that feeling that I'm feeling, that I can actually notice, is telling me. Then I go, what is even deeper than that? What's really going on below that feeling? So if I'm feeling angry, what actually came up that I'm probably less likely to be able to deal with, or that I don't deal with well? So often anger hides fear or sadness. And then that's going to help me understand what's kind of driving that. And then I can ask the question, well, let's say it's fear. What am I feeling fearful about? What am I scared of? What am I anxious about? Because it's not always scared. And some people don't like to sort of admit to themselves, I'm scared. So what am I anxious about? It can be the same with sad. What am I sad about? What is happening right now that I might feel that is there some loss going on? Is there some grief going on? And it doesn't have to be something that happened yesterday or today. It can be something that I haven't dealt with, or somebody passed on, or that life has changed in a major way with discovery and subsequent circumstances that we are all familiar with. That understanding, it can be rudimentary. It doesn't even have to be absolutely full and wow, I get it. It's, I've read the whole encyclopedia entry about this and I know exactly what it's about. That's actually unlikely to happen, especially immediately. But it gives us a basic understanding. And what that does is it helps us to figure out what we need to address. So if I've looked at, say, there's anger, and then below that is sad, and below that is what did I lose? What has happened? Where's there been a loss? Where's there been a major change that feels negative? Remember, even positive growth, there's a time period there between realizing you have to grow and starting to take action, and for that to become integrated and get to a place where you don't feel that sadness about it anymore. You're actually feeling hope and you're able to move forward. So that period between those two actually can feel very disruptive and very difficult, and something that we would typically want to run from. Once we are able to understand what it is we need to address, we can actually create a bit of a plan to do that. While we're putting that into action, we also need to, this one's really, really hard for unfaithfuls, especially because I can speak from that perspective, is self-compassion. One of the reasons is because we don't feel like A, we deserve it, B, that it's something that's okay to do, C, oh, if I'm compassionate with myself, that means I'm going to be permissive. If I show that compassion to myself, I don't deserve it, and I'm scared of it because if I do it, it's going to give me permission to go out and do whatever I did before, or to be a jerk, or the things that really hurt my partner to begin with. It isn't true, because actually what will happen is that we don't have self-compassion over the feelings that are coming up for us. Then the opposite is true. We're going to actually go and do something that is going to be more hurtful. And it doesn't mean that we're going to go act out, but it does mean that we're going to be burying that feeling that we have, and that's going to come out sideways. Because if it's sadness and we're already mad at ourselves, we're stuffing it down, we'll end up blaming somebody else, most likely our partner, and that's going to come out sideways at them in a way that we might not intend or want. And then there's going to be more pain caused, and we're going to get into the vicious cycle of not being able to feel compassion about our own feelings and such. So it really is important to do it. And it may seem like, well, I don't deserve that compassion. Well, you do internally, because if you don't, then there's going to be trouble. What does that mean? No self-shaming, no self-criticism about having the feeling, accepting that it just is. Feelings are feelings. They don't have to be based in fact. They're not logical. We can have feelings without having to say, oh, well, that's stupid, or that's alert. So we can't negate the feeling, or that's also going to stuff it. What we then need to have is a kind self-talk. So what we're doing here is essentially, like, we've had enough of being unkind. So growing up, I had a lot of not nice input from parents, from school. I went to boarding school in England, and that at a time when it wasn't a very pleasant thing. So I don't know that it is now, but it was definitely even cruel then. So I had a lot of that growing up, and I learned to speak to myself that way. I'm an idiot. What's wrong with me? All these self-critical, cruel, really, self-talk. We've had enough of that. So why don't we try something different here? Why don't we try kind self-talk? Again, it's not permissive. It's just kind. We need to actually use the AVR system that I've talked about in the past. That's acknowledge, validate, and reassure. But I'm going to do that to myself now, right? So you need to do that with yourself. Okay, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling angry. Okay, you know what? It's a feeling. It's okay. It's there. It's okay to feel it. It's actually necessary to feel it. And it isn't necessarily the truth. So, what am I going to look at here? So then I need to validate myself. This is okay to feel this. There are reasons that I'm feeling it. They may not be exactly what I think they are. So, what is underneath it? And I further legitimize that by saying, okay, this is what's really going on. Now I can reassure myself and say, I can get through this. I can gain deeper understanding of this so that I'm not reactive and I can respond out of my understanding of what truly drove my feeling so that I'm not hurting myself anymore and I'm not hurting anybody else around me. So that's really it. I know it's very brief. That's the point of the shorts, is to be as brief as I can be. So that's basics of how to deal with your feelings. All right. So feel them all the way through. Thank you. We'll see you next week.